Now, before we talk about creating anything new in your life, I'd like to invite you to imagine something very simple with me. Just for a moment, allow your shoulders to soften. Let your breath slow down a little. You don't need to do anything special. You don't need to change anything yet. Just notice your body right here, right now. Because creation never begins in the future. It always begins in this moment. And when we talk about act as if, we are really talking about where you are standing inside yourself in this moment. You see, many people hear those words and immediately feel pressure. They think, oh, I have to pretend, or I have to convince myself of something that isn't true. And then the body tightens, the mind starts racing, and suddenly the very thing that was meant to feel freeing feels exhausting. So let me say this gently and very clearly. Act as if is not about pretending. It is about aligning. It is not about lying to yourself. It is about listening to yourself more deeply than you ever have before. When you already have what you want, you are not anxious. When you already have what you want, you are not pushing life. When you already have what you want, there is a softness inside you, a quiet confidence, a feeling that says, I am safe. I am supported. I can relax now. And that feeling, not the words, not the vision board, not the effort, that feeling is the frequency life responds to. Life does not respond to your wishing. Life responds to your state of being. And this is such a relief when you truly understand it, because it means you don't have to work harder. You don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to become someone else. You simply allow yourself to shift where you are standing emotionally. That's all. I've watched people struggle for years because they were asking life for something while still holding the energy of, I don't have it. And life, very lovingly, says yes to that. It mirrors it back, not as punishment, not as denial, but as reflection. Life always reflects what you are broadcasting. And when your broadcast changes, life changes with you, sometimes in the most surprising, graceful ways. This is why desire alone is not enough. Desire says, I want. But desire often carries longing, lack, impatience, and lack is a closed hand. Receiving requires openness. Receiving requires trust. Receiving requires the feeling of, it is already safe for me to have this. That feeling is what we practice when we act as if. Now let me take this a little deeper, because this is important. The universe does not respond to what you say you want. It responds to what you feel you already have. Wanting says, someday. Having says, now. And the body always lives in now. Your nervous system doesn't understand future promises. It understands safety or threat in this moment. So, if your body feels tense, guarded, rushed, worried, then no matter how beautiful your affirmations sound, your system is still saying, not yet. And this is not something to judge. This is something to notice with kindness. Awareness is always the first healing. When you notice that you are holding yourself tight, you don't scold yourself. You soften. You say, Ah, I see you. It's okay. We're learning something new. Because change that comes from gentleness lasts, change that comes from force does not. Your feelings matter more than your thoughts because feelings create chemistry. Chemistry creates behavior. Behavior repeated becomes reality. So when you shift how you feel even slightly, your actions begin to change naturally. You don't force new habits, they emerge. You don't chase new opportunities, you recognize them. This is why acting from feeling is so powerful. If I asked you to think your way into peace, it would be very difficult. But if I invite you to breathe, to soften, to feel supported, peace appears almost on its own. That is the intelligence of your body. And that same intelligence knows how to move you toward what you want if you stop interrupting it with fear. So act as if does not mean you suddenly behave differently in the world. It means you begin to inhabit a different version of yourself internally. You stop waiting for permission. You stop postponing joy. You stop telling yourself, when this happens, then I'll relax. Relaxation is not the reward. Relaxation is the doorway. This is where many people get confused. They believe they must change the outer conditions first. They think, when I have the relationship, I'll feel loved. When I have the money, I'll feel safe. When my body heals, I'll feel at peace. And life gently whispers back, feel loved, and the relationship can come. Feel safe, and the support appears. Feel at peace, and healing has space to happen. The order matters. When you choose the inner state first, you are choosing a new identity. Not a fake one, a truer one. You are choosing to live as the person who trusts life instead of fearing it. You are choosing to move through your day as someone who expects good instead of bracing for disappointment. And life responds very differently to that version of you. I want you to hear this because it can change everything. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are comfortable receiving. And comfort is a feeling, not a thought. So we practice comfort. We practice safety. We practice ease, not because we are lazy, but because we are wise. Acting as if you already have what you want means you stop postponing your humanity. You stop withholding kindness from yourself. You stop saying, I'll be happy later. You begin saying, it is safe for me to experience moments of happiness now. And those moments grow. They multiply. They teach your system a new normal. This is not magic. This is alignment. This is biology. This is consciousness in motion. And you don't have to get it perfect. You only have to begin. Even a few minutes a day of feeling supported, of feeling grateful, of feeling at ease begins to retrain your body and your mind. Small shifts create powerful momentum. So as we continue together, I invite you not to try to do anything. Instead, allow yourself to notice. Notice how you breathe when you trust. Notice how your body feels when you imagine being supported. Notice the difference between effort and allowance. Because the more familiar that feeling becomes, the more naturally your life will begin to reflect it. And this is only the beginning. I believe that life is very simple. What we give out we get back. And with that gentle truth, let me invite you to stay with me a little longer, because what we are talking about now is not a technique you perform, but a way you stand inside yourself. When you truly understand act as if, something softens. You stop striving. You stop proving. You begin trusting. And trust, my dear one, is the soil where happiness grows the fastest. When I speak of the 4 pillars of act as if, I'm not giving you rules. I'm offering you a map, not a rigid map, but one drawn with compassion. The first pillar is thinking as if it is already real, and that doesn't mean forcing positive thoughts over fearful ones. It means gently noticing when your mind says, "This won't work," and choosing a kinder thought that feels believable to your body, like, "I am open to good unfolding in my life." You're not arguing with your mind, you're guiding it. The second pillar is feeling as if it has already happened. And feelings are not created by imagination alone. They arise when you allow your body to relax. Safety creates feeling. When your nervous system settles, joy becomes accessible without effort. The third pillar is speaking about your life with calm certainty. Not excitement that borders on desperation, not convincing others, just a quiet steadiness in your words. The kind of tone that says, "I trust this." And finally, the fourth pillar is behaving from sufficiency. You don't rush, you don't cling, you don't chase. You make choices from a sense of enoughness. Even in small ways, how you spend your time, how you treat yourself, how you say yes or no. These 4 are not separate. They are one state expressed in different forms. Now, let me help you feel the difference between act as if and forcing, because this is where many kind-hearted people exhaust themselves. Forcing always feels tight. It carries urgency. There's a subtle fear underneath that says, if I don't do this perfectly, I'll miss my chance. Act as if feels very different. It feels spacious. You can breathe. There is no panic. When you are aligned, you feel lighter, not heavier. If your manifestation practice makes you tired, something is off. And that's not a failure, it's feedback. Life is simply saying, come back to ease. Remember, the universe does not respond to pressure, it responds to harmony. I've seen people burn out trying to be positive, trying to visualize harder, trying to hold joy with clenched teeth. That is not joy. That is fear dressed up as hope. True alignment feels natural. You may even forget you're doing anything at all. You're just living from a quieter place. When it's right, you don't need to convince yourself. You recognize it by the absence of struggle. And I want you to know, you are allowed to stop trying so hard. You are allowed to rest into trust. So why does act as if attract happiness faster than anything else? Because happiness is not a reward at the end of the journey. Happiness is a state you can access right now. You don't need permission. You don't need proof. You don't need perfect conditions. The moment you allow yourself a sense of well-being, even briefly, you change your signal to life. You stop broadcasting, "I'm waiting," and you begin broadcasting, "I'm available." And life loves availability. Life moves toward openness. We were taught, many of us, that happiness comes later when the work is done, when the body is fixed, when the relationship arrives. But that belief keeps happiness forever out of reach. When you reverse the order, when you choose joy first, everything else reorganizes itself around that choice. This doesn't mean you deny challenges. It means you meet them from a place of inner support rather than inner lack, and supported people make very different decisions. I want to speak to you now, heart to heart. If you have been telling yourself, "I'll relax when things improve," I invite you to try something new. Try relaxing now, not because everything is perfect, but because you deserve peace. If you have been postponing joy until life behaves better, I invite you to reclaim it today in small, human ways. A smile, a deep breath, a moment of appreciation. These are not trivial. They are powerful signals. They teach your body and mind a new baseline. You see, happiness is not something you attract by chasing it. It is something that responds when you make room for it. When you live as if life is on your side, life has no choice but to meet you there. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. And alignment is always gentle. So as we close this part together, I want you to remember this. You don't need to wait for happiness to arrive before you let yourself feel good. Feeling good is what invites happiness to stay. Be kind with yourself as you practice this. Let it be imperfect. Let it be human. And trust that every small moment of ease you allow is teaching life how to love you back. And so it is. You are far more powerful than you have ever been taught to believe. And when you truly begin to feel that, not as an idea, but as a lived experience, life starts responding to you in the most ordinary, beautiful ways. This is where act as if becomes real. Not dramatic, not exhausting, not something you do, but something you gently live, especially in the smallest moments of your day. You see, act as if does not require big goals, grand visions, or constant affirmations whispered with intensity. In fact, it works best when it is almost invisible. It lives in how you walk across a room. It lives in how you sit with yourself when no one is watching. It lives in how you rest. When you move through your day like someone who trusts themselves, even if nothing big has changed yet, your body begins to learn a new truth. Confidence is not announced, it is embodied. Peace is not explained, it is felt. And abundance is not proven, it is allowed. So when I say act as if in very small ways, I mean this. You walk as if you belong where you are. You speak as if you don't need to defend your worth. You pause as if time is not chasing you. You rest as if you are not behind in life. These are not performances, they are permissions. And each one sends a clear message to your nervous system. I am safe now. When the body feels safe, the mind follows. And when the mind follows, life reorganizes itself around that calm center. Your brain, dear one, does not argue with reality. It records experience. It learns from repetition. It does not ask, is this true? It asks, is this familiar? This is why patterns feel so strong. This is why fear can feel convincing. And this is also why happiness can be trained. When you give your brain 10 minutes a day of a new experience, 10 minutes of calm breathing, relaxed posture, gentle self-talk, you are literally building new pathways. You are teaching your brain a different home base. And you don't need hours. You don't need perfection. You need consistency with kindness. 10 minutes of walking slowly, 10 minutes of speaking gently to yourself, 10 minutes of sitting without fixing anything. That is enough to begin. Your brain is always listening. It is always learning from how you treat yourself. And when you repeatedly live from a place of ease, your brain begins to say, "Ah, this is who we are now." That is how happiness stops being an event and becomes a state. Now let me share something that is often overlooked, but deeply important. Act as if, without letting go, will tire you. If you act as if, and then check constantly, worry constantly, measure constantly, you interrupt the flow. Acting as if and clinging are opposites. Acting as if says, "I trust." Clinging says, "I'm afraid." You cannot send both signals at the same time. So after you practice the feeling, after you embody the state, you release it. You go on with your day. You don't hover over the outcome. You trust that life has heard you. This is not giving up. This is allowing. And allowing is one of the most courageous acts there is. It means you stop supervising the universe. It means you stop asking, "Is it working yet?" and start living as someone who expects support. When you let go after aligning, your body relaxes even more deeply. And that relaxation is the open door through which solutions, connections, and opportunities quietly arrive. I know many of you were taught that letting go is risky, that if you don't hold on tightly, things will fall apart. But the opposite is true. Life flows when you soften. Life responds when you stop bracing. You are not meant to carry your future on your shoulders. You are meant to cooperate with it. And cooperation feels like trust, not effort. So practice this gently. Practice it in how you drink your tea, in how you answer the phone, in how you breathe before responding. Let your life feel as though support is already present, even if you cannot yet see all the evidence, because the evidence follows the feeling, not the other way around. And remember this, my dear, you are not trying to become someone else. You are remembering who you are when fear steps aside. You are remembering how it feels to live without waiting. And each small act of act as if is not pretending, it is reclaiming. Reclaiming your peace, reclaiming your joy, reclaiming your right to feel good now. Life is listening. Your body is listening. Your mind is learning. And it is safe for you to let go and let life meet you where you are. When you begin to live this way, there is a moment that almost everyone meets, and I want to speak to you very tenderly about it now. It is the moment when you have softened inside. You have begun to feel calmer, kinder, more at ease, and yet the outer world looks exactly the same. Nothing obvious has shifted yet. And right there, the old reflex wants to jump in. It whispers, "What if this isn't working? What if I'm fooling myself? What if I lose what little I have?" My dear one, This is not failure, this is the echo of the past. Reality, as you see it, is always a little behind consciousness. It has momentum. It carries yesterday's thoughts, yesterday's fears, yesterday's habits. So when you don't see immediate change, please don't panic. Panic belongs to the old pattern, not the new one you are cultivating. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not going backwards. Even when the outer picture looks familiar, something inside you has already shifted. You breathe differently. You respond differently. You are less harsh with yourself, and that means you are already living from a new place. The old reality may still be playing out, but you are no longer feeding it with the same energy. Think of it like a wave that is finishing its movement after you have already stepped onto solid ground. The wave doesn't mean you are still in the ocean. It only means the water hasn't gone completely still yet. This is where patience becomes a form of faith, not passive patience, not I'll just sit and wait, but a quiet steadiness that says, I trust what I am becoming. When you stay gentle with yourself during this phase, you allow the new state to stabilize. When you rush or doubt or criticize yourself, you pull energy back into the old pattern. So be kind with this in-between space. It is sacred. It is where roots grow before the flower appears. And now I want to take you even deeper, because act as if is not just a creative tool, it is an act of love toward yourself. When you allow yourself to feel good now, you are saying something very powerful to your inner child, to your body, to your nervous system. You are saying, you don't have to suffer to be worthy. You are saying, you don't have to wait to be loved. You are saying, it is safe to experience joy in this moment. That is not selfish. That is healing. So many of us were taught, directly or indirectly, that happiness must be earned, that rest comes after effort, that joy is conditional. And without realizing it, we deny ourselves comfort as a form of discipline. But self-love does not work that way. Self-love gives first. It creates an inner environment where growth happens naturally. When you practice act as if, you are giving yourself the emotional nourishment you may have been waiting for others to provide. And the beautiful truth is this: when you stop waiting, life begins to respond. This is why I say you do not need anyone's permission to be happy. You don't need circumstances to approve of you. You don't need proof before you soften. Feeling good is not something you justify. It is something you allow. And the moment you allow it, your entire system begins to reorganize itself around that kindness. This is self-care at the deepest level, not fixing, not improving, but accepting yourself into the present moment. Now let us slow everything down together for a moment. Let your breath become easy. Let your shoulders drop. This is where words become more than words. This is where they become anchors. I invite you to let these affirmations land gently inside you, not as statements you must believe, but as feelings you are willing to explore. You don't need to force them. Let them move through you like warm air. I act as if I already have what I want. And as I say this, I notice how my body responds. It feels good to live in happiness now, not someday, not later, now. I allow joy to flow through my life easily. I don't push it, I don't chase it, I let it come. I trust life to respond to my happiness. Life has always been listening to me. I am safe to enjoy my life today. Nothing bad happens when I feel good. Let each line settle. You may notice resistance. That's okay. Resistance is only a habit of fear. You don't argue with it, you don't push it away, you simply stay present. Gentleness dissolves what force never could. And each time you repeat these words with softness, you are teaching your subconscious a new language, the language of safety, of permission, of enoughness. Remember, living as if does not mean denying challenges. It means meeting them without abandoning yourself. It means you no longer say, I'll be kind to myself after this is over. You say, I'll be kind to myself while this is unfolding. And that choice changes everything, because supported people heal faster. Loved people grow more easily. And you, my dear, are learning how to be that loving presence for yourself. Let us slow everything down now, because this final practice is not about effort, it is about permission. When I invite you into what I call a gentle role-playing practice, I am not asking you to force belief or perform happiness. I am asking you to give yourself 10 minutes a day to experience life from the inside of the version of you who already feels supported. And that is a very different thing. You choose one thing only, not many. Keep it simple. Your nervous system loves simplicity. It might be peace. It might be ease with money. It might be feeling loved. You don't analyze it. You don't justify it. You simply choose. Then you write not what you will do, not what you will get, but how it feels now that it is already part of your life. And I want you to notice something important here. When you write about feeling, the body responds immediately. The shoulders soften. The breath deepens. That is your signal that you are aligned. Now, for those 10 minutes each day, you step into that version of yourself, not dramatically, not loudly, quietly. You sit as that person would sit. You breathe as that person would breathe. You speak to yourself with the same tone that person would use. And you do not try to hold the feeling all day. You feel it, and then you release it. This is crucial. You feel it, and then you let it go. You do not check the mirror of life to see if it worked. You do not ask the universe for confirmation. You trust that the signal has been sent. Trust is what keeps the channel open. Many people make the mistake of thinking that checking is harmless. It isn't. Checking is a subtle form of fear. It says, I don't believe yet. So after your 10 minutes, you return to your day. You make tea. You answer emails. You live. And because you have already given your body the experience of having, your system no longer sends out urgency. It sends out calm certainty. And calm certainty is magnetic. It does not beg. It does not chase. It attracts. I want to say this very clearly because it can change the way you live. Happiness does not come after life improves. Happiness is not the prize at the end of the road. Happiness is the ground you walk on. When you decide that it is safe to feel good now, you step out of the waiting room of life. You stop postponing yourself. You stop saying, "When this happens, then I will allow myself to relax." You allow yourself first, and life follows you always. You see, life is responsive, not dominant. It is listening, not judging. When you give yourself permission to feel whole now, life mirrors that wholeness back to you in ways that make sense for you. Not always instantly, not always dramatically, but always accurately. And when doubt appears, as it sometimes will, you don't fight it. You simply remind yourself, this is an old habit passing through. Habits fade when they are no longer fed. So let this be your closing understanding. You are not here to prove your worth to life. You are here to express it. You do not wait for happiness to arrive before you live fully. You live fully, and happiness recognizes itself in you. You allow first. You soften first. You choose first. And life, being the faithful